It's July the 26th, day 9 of the hunger strike. And we're in the truck outside the Dow Chemical plant with Diane Wilson. And it's noisy as hell. Hi, Diane.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
Pretty perky. I'm perky.
Yeah.
Hello there.
How you doing? How much longer are you gonna do this?
Honey, as long as it takes.
You know that's bad.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know it. I'm pretty sturdy though. I really am. I really am.
What do you think about what she's doing?
The small town of Seadrift, once a thriving fishing community, is now almost entirely dependent for employment on the chemical plants that dominate the nearby countryside. Diane Wilson, a fourth-generation fisherwoman, began her struggles with the petrochemicals industry in 1989, when she found out that her tiny Texas community was responsible for nearly 17% of the nation's pollution, discharging over 450 million pounds of toxins into the air, land, and water.
You need to put your belt on.
Oh. There is nobody that works harder than a fisherman or a shrimper or an oysterman. It is very hard physically work. And used to, you can make a living at it. And there's no living at it. And it's just frustrations. You're constantly on the alert for you're violating the law, game wardens, you know, and all. I know there was one fisherman in town, and he had started, I guess he got so desperate that he took out a net, and nets are illegal, and so he went net fishing again, and he and his son got thrown in the penitentiary, and they've been in there about 3 years. The penitentiary for fishing. This is what happens when the fishing dies. The community's dead, the businesses are gone, there's nothing for the kids to stay for.
Back then it was more money shrimping than, you know, any other job you could get. Back when I was, I'd say 30, 35 years old, a shrimper was considered a high-class person. Nowadays they're not. They're low-class people.
So Diane, why are you doing this?
Well, like I said, I've been a fisherman all my life, and I'm especially bonded to the water. And in 1989, the toxic relief inventory came out, made by Congress right after Bhopal and because of Bhopal. And this industry, for the first time ever, had to report the releases. And it was front page headlines. Is that Calhoun County was the #1 county in the nation for toxic disposal. I was so surprised by it that I just called a meeting in town, and people went crazy when I called the meeting. You know, I had Chamber of Commerce down at my doorstep, down at the fish house. I had bank presidents. I had the plant manager. I had city council down there, and they did not want me to call a meeting. They didn't want me to do anything. They wanted me to just be quiet. And it's like, don't mess with this person. Their husband works at the plant. Don't mess with them because their wife is a executive secretary. You know, we want to get a loan at the bank. Formosa's sitting on as a director. You know, it's like my brother, who I dearly loved. You know, he was a shrimper, and he quit and worked for the company. He said, Diane, if it wasn't money, it'd be different. And that's what they think. If it wouldn't be money, it'd be different. And, you know, and that's the type of stuff I would get. You know, and even when I tried to, I was looking at the cancer statistics. I had the American Cancer Society out of Victoria, one of their head people, come down to Seadrift on the sly. Nobody seeing him. He didn't want to go in the cafe where people could see him. And all he tried to do was talk me out of doing a cancer study, a health study. And it was like, nobody will take it serious. They'll rip it to pieces. You're wasting your time doing that. And this is the American Cancer Society. And 2 weeks later, his picture was in the paper with Victoria Economic Development. And when problems start happening and you start having bad press, suddenly they're buying computer systems for the police department. They're buying police cars. They're buying defibrillators for the ambulances. They're buying typewriters for the churches and the libraries. They're putting their little coloring books in the elementary schools where my children sat. They have taken it over. If people do not believe that corporations have taken over America, then they need to come down a little small town Texas and just check it out.
As one of his first actions as governor, George W. Bush appointed 3 petrochemical industry leaders to key environmental posts, where they subsequently gutted environmental regulations on those and other industries. By 2002, Texas, which boasts the largest concentration of refineries and chemical plants in the country, was also the nation's leader in toxic releases, chemical spills, ozone pollution, carbon dioxide emissions, clean water violations, and the production of hazardous waste.
When I worked at Alcoa, I saw the mercury. I actually saw the mercury trickling through the water, the little silver beads of mercury running out into the bay. And when I worked at Carbide, when I worked down at the docks area, we were doing some reinstallation of some underground conduits. The ground was so saturated with benzene that you had to wear protective gear just to crawl into excavation. And we're talking an area that is within 30 foot of the water.
The goal of zero discharge, written by Congress, is that by 1985, there would be no contaminants into the water. But the reality is, you know, there's a chemical cocktail out there. You got benzene, and you got chloroformine, you got acrylonitrile, and vinyl chloride, and chloroform, and copper, and lead. It can cause liver cancer and brain cancer. It can damage fetuses. It can cause spontaneous abortions. And the goal by Congress, I mean, they're the one that wrote it. These smart men, educated, Harvard educated. It was zero discharge. And it's like gone out the window.
I know George W. Bush personally, and he is my friend at the personal level, so I know him as a human being.
How do you feel about the environment here, the ecological issues that are...
We have a really bad environment, and we had destroyed the environment for the sake of business. But in order to fix that, we had to have a lot of money. And I think if we make a lot of money in businesses, we will be able to take care of the environment and the people.
Zero discharge was the goal of the Clean Water Act, 1972. And instead of zero emissions out there, we have superfund sites. We have fishermen that are bankrupt because of ecosystem dying out there. And my new little business venture is to take what the petrochemical industry has produced, and we're going to bottle it and send it right back to the businessman where it come from.
Here on the sparkling Gulf Coast of Texas, we produce the richest water in the world. Only here are the fires of industry and the once blue waters of nature finally allowed to come together and create what is quite possibly the most refreshing, energizing, and satisfying bottled water ever created. A rare and delicate blend designed especially for the businessman on the go. A crisp, complex refreshment. A state bottle by former fishermen right here in Port Lavaca. Try just one bottle of Texas Gold, and we're sure you'll agree. You'll never drink another bottle of water again. Ingredients: mercury, benzene, polyvinyl chloride, chlorine, lead, asbestos, ethylene dichloride, phthalates, and copper. Harmful if swallowed.
I've spent my whole life around the water. I've been shrimping since I was 8 years old, and even when I was smaller, when I was like 4 and 5 years old, my dad would come in from shrimping, and all of us kids would go to the bay. And I can remember going out in the bay, and when you leave early, you got the spoonbills, you know, these pink birds flying. They're coming up out of the marshes, and you're going past the reefs, and you're heading out into the bay. And it was beautiful, and it always kept that magic. And I think if I gave up on the bay, I would be giving up on the best part of myself. It's like, oh. And I don't like, I hate crying, I really, especially, I hate crying. I don't cry in front of corporations.
Listen to the earth sing, through the wind, through the waves, through the sea. This land is your land. Listen to the earth sing, through the rain, through the birds, through the trees. Take heed, regulate the breed. Listen to the earth sing. Attention shoppers, chemical buffet in aisle 5. Listen to the earth sing.
Where are you go video thing? They're not, we are. Okay, yeah, you need to go ahead and go. You, I need to see your driver's license. Put your camera down, put your equipment down, let me have your driver's license now.
I can show it to you.
Oh, here it is. Pull it out of
I thought you were gonna get arrested again.
Oh,
And then is when he told
Yeah.
me, put the camera down.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that's a hoot.
You've been fighting for these bays a long time now,
For a long time, probably about 13 years now.
and this isn't your first hunger strike.
No.
You've done this before.
This is my 5th hunger strike.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So how did the past 4 hunger strikes go? Were any of them against Dow?
I had 3 against Formosa, 1 against DuPont, and this one's against Union Carbide Dow.
How did those other 4 go? What came out of them?
The first one I did, I got results in 12 days. And
12 days, the
12
first one?
First one was 12 days. The second one, I got a result in 14 days. And we was negotiating with this company to get all these provisions. We got these provisions for the workers. We got provisions for the community. We got to have experts to go inside the plant and inspect it ourselves. We shook hands with them. They were fiercely wanting me to go get a hamburger, and 2 days later, they reneged on it. I have yet to see the honest corporation, quite frankly. And so I learned something from that one is, when you go on a hunger strike, you do not get off too soon. Environmental activists said, Diane, you cannot do a hunger strike. It's like women don't do a hunger strike. People in Texas don't do a hunger strike. Maybe if you're California, you might do a hunger strike, but they don't do them down here. And it's like, I'm gonna do a hunger strike.
Okay, so what does Diane look like on a hunger strike? Because I've never been there.
Slim.
Really? She loses a lot of weight, huh? What do your friends say about Diane Wilson?
Some of them say she's crazy, and some of them say she's smart.
Is she crazy?
I don't think she's standing up for what she believes in. She's trying to look out for the health of the younger generation. If that's crazy, I want to be crazy. I want the younger generation to live a better life than I live.
Dan, you know that friend of yours who came by earlier, Bucky?
Oh yeah, Bucky.
What's wrong with him? He looks like he's sick.
Bucky's got cancer, and he doesn't have any health insurance, so we don't do anything about it.
Is this normal, like cancer in this town?
Cancer in this town is rampant.
It's like I said, I mean, in this county, the big joke is if you work for the Union Carbide plant, which is now the Dow plant, you're going to eventually die of liver cancer or brain cancer. If you work for Alcoa, you're going to die of asbestosis or some type of lung disease. That's just the way it is. Most people say, well, you know, if we don't have the big industries in the county, they bring in plenty of jobs, we need work, which is fine, but, you know, to make a living, you're gonna have to sacrifice your health.
All these plants do not like to look like they're bad apples. They want to give this pristine image. Matter of fact, you look on one of those tires, you see the green helping hands, the responsible care. Union Carbide was declared the safest plant in Texas by the Texas Chemical Council, which is a bunch of industry calling itself wonderful. And about 2 weeks later, the plant exploded, and it happened at midnight, or else there'd have been hundreds of workers killed because it pretty much wiped out half the plant. They felt it like 35 miles off, breaking out windows. A couple of the Bhopal survivors, they came to Seadrift, and for 3 days we tried to get an interview with the plant manager here, and it was like, no, he's not here. Oh no, he's got something else to do. And it's like, we showed up anyway, and naturally it's like, oh no, he's not here. But PR man met us, and he set those people who had been through the worst disaster on the face of the earth, he set them through a 30-minute safety film.
The events, as first described by workers at the plant, began shortly after 11 p.m. that Sunday evening. Heat began radiating from the ground. Rumbling sounds were heard coming from tank 610, and at approximately 12:45 a.m., the screeching through the safety valve signaled the terrifying release. For the next 2 hours, 50,000 pounds of a poisonous methyl isocyanate gas enveloped most of the older sections of Bhopal.
There's explosions here all the time. It's like I told my wife, if ever I'm at one of the chemical plants and an explosion happens or something happens to me, she knows that there's certain people to call and to make sure that it's investigated and not covered up.
You know, the first time I talked to Formosa, I said, did you have any violations? And they said, oh, I think we had a little pop valve one time. You know, it's kind of like a garden hose springing a leak. I still remember them saying that. And it was like, I went, and they had at one time 148,000 pound release of vinyl chloride in one day. It's all connected. In these little corporations, they won't say, no, none of it's connected. We ain't got nothing to do with nothing. It's just little old us. We're just right down here minding our business. It's like, we got nothing to do with all that blood spreading over there in India. Nothing to do with it. But it is. The blood shows. The blood shows. I had been in front of that plant for 30 days. And you talk about security, for 30 days I had been there. And the next day I took my truck and just drove into the plant and just sit around looking outside like, you know, that banner would look real good up on that tower. You know, I could get over that fence. And so I got me a hard hat. I got me a pair of safety glasses. And the next day, I got my banner over my shoulder. I put my hard hat and my glasses on. And I just took off down the road. And here come some workers. They say, you need a ride? And I say, yeah. So I climb in the back. They took me straight into the plant. Waited to the left. Just climbed down. Scaled the fence. Scaled the tire. And I was there a good hour and a half. They never even knew I was there. I had to stand up and wave for them to even know I was there. And I chained myself up there, and I was up there for 8 hours because they couldn't figure out how in the hell I got in there and how the hell to get me out of there.
A lot of people, only risk they want to put out is their name on a checkbook and give $5 to Greenpeace or $5 to the Sierra Club or sign their name on a petition. But the key is putting your life at risk. That's where change happens.
I'm going home on a morning train. I'm going home on a morning train. I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm going home on a morning train. The evening train may be too late. Evening train may be too late. The evening train. The evening train. Evening train may be too late.
She joins us in our story.